So what's good, my G's? It's your boy Bass Queso, and I am here with my first sample breakdown / tutorial. The first of many. I'm planning on, dropping a video every week from now on, whether that be loop kits, sample packs, one-shot kits, drum kits, just sound kits, tutorials where I just, show you guys the sauce, the way how I make my samples, how I make some melody tricks, how I record my instruments, what instruments I use, and just my sound selection, where I get crazy sounds from, as well as contact libraries and that. So definitely, if you're into all that stuff and you haven't subscribed, I definitely suggest you subscribe. I'll be dropping a lot of dope content for you guys, and definitely hit that notification bell so I can keep you guys posted and you don't miss out on any of the dope content. There'll also be like freebies, free loop kits, free drum kits and stuff like that on the regular. So definitely subscribe, hit that notification bell, and go ahead and check out my socials at based_queso. So yeah, that's what's up. And without any further ado, I'm just gonna hop right into the tutorial. So what I got for you guys today is a sample breakdown of a sample I made recently for my new sample pack, the 808 Mafia vintage sample pack. It's actually for free. I'm gonna drop the link for you guys in the description. Definitely go check that out. It's free. It's got 90 loops, crazy loops in there with sounds like violins, strings, flutes, vocals, piano, and all dark and just one vibier than the next. So definitely go check that out. Again, it's free. Link will be in the description. And this is one of the samples. This is one of them babies that I got for you guys. So I'll just play it for you guys. It's at 90 BPM. I'll just play it for you guys right off the bat. This is what it sounds like. So that one already sounds very vibey, very rhythmic and ethnic, just the way I like them. I'm at 90 BPM, and it kind of sounds crazy and bouncy, but it's actually pretty simple. It's just good sound selection, always good sound selection, and just vibey patterns that match with each other. So the first one, without any further ado, is this string pattern that I made using this contact library. This is what it sounds like. So all that it is, it's pretty much this strumming pattern that I made. I clicked in on each beat the strumming pattern that is just C, D, D sharp, and G. And then I just switch it up with this C on the last beat right before it repeats. And then I actually have this 1/6 note to add more bounce before it repeats. This one right here. And then it just repeats. I have the same thing going on over here, but then I have it come down from D sharp to C. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The sound that I use for this one, it's actually, another gem, a first gem here for you guys on the channel. Princess Kodo Kaguya 13. Pretty dope contact library. So it features the Kodo, one of my favorite instruments, the signature instruments, if you will. Pretty dope preset. So this is solely for the Kodo, which is an Asian sitar or Asian harp, if you don't know what it is. Crazy sound, and it has multiple articulations. I just used the default one. About the other articulations that will come on later into play. But yeah, that will be definitely also something for like future content, future videos, contact libraries. As you can see, I have a huge array of just a bombardment of contact libraries and sounds. That's just not even it. That's just a half of it or a quarter. I have way more like in my file folder. So there's definitely some sauce, like ethnic contact libraries and orchestral stuff and like vibey jazzy stuff, vocals, crazy stuff I can show you guys. But this is definitely one of them. The Princess Kodo 13 definitely delivers. I use the normal preset for this first pattern. Then also for second pattern, it's pretty much the same thing. Only I cut out the notes, well, the strumming on each second beat, so it's a bit more spaced out. And also with the same as with the first pattern, I mess with the velocities, so these kind of build up the velocities for each individual note. Yeah, and it's actually pretty typical. You know, this pretty much represents like, you know, your typical, let's say, Asian string strum, I guess, or your koto strum, as it's nothing else as like a upward, or in this case condescending strum. Condescending meaning it goes upwards from C, D, D sharp to G, so it condescends, it goes up. But that's enough theory for this video. Again, future content, you know, about like theory, you know, tips and tricks how to make your, you know, piano roll melodies better or overall melodies better. That can I, you know, can talk about that in, you know, another video in the future. But yeah, that's the second pattern. Then I again use Prince Koto Kaguya 13 on the second sound, which sounds like this. Nothing too crazy, but the sound is crazy. It's this bend from one of the articulations, this one right here, and I just have it playing at C on the downbeat, and then on each last beat, pretty vibey. And I really mess with this one because, again, it's just one note, as you see, simple, just C, just one note, literally, but the sound, the vibrato on it, and just the richness of the sound already makes it so spicy and catchy, to me at least. And then I just switch up the pattern, have it again hitting on C. It's the same preset, and then it just descends here. I add in a second note from G sharp, you know, from G to D sharp. This is what then sounds like. And then I actually think I made a third pattern, actually, in fact. Yep, I made a third pattern which sounds like this. Same preset again. And in this case, I have a descent, and I actually added another note, which is a quarter note in this case. This D note, then D sharp, and then D. And I really like the way the bends, the vibrato, the way it leads into one another. In the end, it kind of overlaps, and it just creates this, like, I don't know, this nice sound, this smooth sound, I guess. And then the third sound that I add, finally, is actually, again, pretty simple, this pattern, but the sound, again, crazy, is this. This from G to D sharp. And what this is, it's a tremolo, again, the same contact library. Getting the best out of it is this tremolo articulation, one of the penultimate one, the last before last. And I love tremolos, especially like as a breakdown. You know, you have these typical jazzy breakdowns where like the bass line will break down. I love doing that with like these Asian strings or like flutes or whatever. Just makes it somewhat like catchy, I guess, and exotic. And then the fourth sound is this vocal, which sounds like this. Yeah. So it's pretty basic. It's just G, the G note hitting on each beat, on each second beat, and then I have it hit here on the last beat as well on the C note. Have it go down. And for the guys who have already recognized it, it's from Jade Ethnic Orchestra. It's the Mongolian long song soloist, a legato. And I really love it because it has a vibrato, or legato. Legato is just an extended note, but this vibrato at the end, if you can hear it, which just really makes it catchy. Again, it's just two notes. It's nothing too crazy, but the preset itself, listen. It's like just getting the best out of just each individual note. It's the expressiveness that will carry the way, I guess. I say I guess a lot, I guess. No. And yeah, the fifth one is this kalimba out of my one-shot kit. Yeah, that one, the link will also be in the description. Pretty crazy. I use sounds out of it a lot. This is a kalimba that I grabbed out of it. It sounds like this. Nothing too crazy, again, just C. But it has a nice effect on it. I'll show you guys that effect later. And then here comes the sauce. I added this flute, which sounds absolutely crazy. It sounds like this. Which is also from my one-shot kit. Yeah, pretty crazy sound. It's actually, if you can see, it's the fifth flute that I picked. So the way I use my one-shot kit, as I already explained in the one-shot kit video, if you haven't, go check that out. Definitely worth it. I click through like my presets in my one shot kit, like regular producer clicks for like drum kits. Like while my progression is playing or the sample is playing that I made, I click through the sounds and like phrases or just one shots, and whichever one matches best, I then draw it in. And this one actually contains 2 notes, so it's sort of say the pitch is off, but it was just by coincidence and by chance it just matched my sample perfectly by pitch. I didn't have to mess anything. As you can see, I've kept it on C, and as you heard before, it's in perfect pitch. It matches the sample, and that's how I use my one shot kit. It just works like that. You know, it works for me. You know, I don't work for it. It works for me. I just click one sound in, and it just right off the bat is fire. So definitely, you know, having dope sounds right at your disposal is definitely also a key. Then I added the second flute also out of my one shot kit. Yeah, it's this lower flute, this area flute right at the end on the last beat. That's what it sounds like. And it's a bit more airy and it has a more darker tune to it. So yeah, then we'll just get right into mixing. So for the first instant, or no, for the first preset of the Kodo, I just added a regular reverb, vintage Valhalla reverb, but I use this drum air preset, which is the third preset when you open it on the ambiances. And I love the preset. What it does to strings, it just makes it, just adds warmth, and it's not as boring as your regular reverb. And what I did is I took down the decay and down some of the mix, because I still wanted, the feeling that the original preset gave me. Didn't want to, add too much. And then I just added a basic EQ, parametric EQ, and took out some of the high end and some of the lows out, because I wanted the flute sort of say be the leading point here in the highs. And then I actually added a flanger. So a flanger is a pretty weird effect to use at times. It kind of gives it this washed up metallic, effect. But I like the way it was kind of panning it and was like affecting it. It was just a subtle, difference, and subtle difference is just key. Just not to make your music as boring, to add like subtle differences, pretty much. And then for the second instance, I just again use basic reverb, EQ'd out some of the. Why is it so big? That's what she said. No, I'm playing. Some of the highs and some of the lows. Just basic effects will carry the way. Sound selection really important, guys. Sound selection always is having dope sounds, and with me, especially with my sound, like pre-mixing is just way more important to me than post-mixing. Like pre-mix, if I'm not content with the sound like that I've chosen, the pattern that I've made, whether it's like my own instrument or like a phrase or pattern that I've made, bro, I'm not down with it. I'm not even getting to the mixing part. The mixing is just for me to more like polish it out and just clean it up and clean up my sound to get the best out of it. And that's what I'm doing here. That's why you see just a lot of basic effects like reverb and EQ. Then similar for the, I think this is, what's this? So yeah, for the tremolo, I did the same thing, just basic reverb. Then for the vocal, I did something a bit different. I added reverb, but then I also added a fade in, which then sounds like this. This is without the fade. And this is with. Again, it's not really that like big of a difference, but it is a difference, a subtle difference. Again, and that's key, not to have it as boring. And this is what the preset looks like, just regular fade in. I took down the volume a bit because I didn't want it to be too, detectable. And then for the kalimba, I just EQ'd out some of the highs. And then I actually added Portal. Just Portal the default. Now the default preset, it gives you this wobbly, sort of say vintage almost, like this wobble. It's just like a wobble preset. This is what it sounds like. So that's with, and then without, it sounds like this. Pretty much what a kalimba should sound like, but with the wobble, just adds a bit more spice and more tension, which I like. And then for the first flute, I just added again just basic reverb, dope preset, just need simple effects. And then for the last flute, or the second flute, I added then an EQ because I didn't want it. I wanted the first one to like have the main part of the highs, so I then cut off like the highs here, and then out some of the lows, and just added just again basic reverb. And the last thing that what I then did, or the penultimate thing, is I didn't lay it out, and the way I just lay them out is pretty simple but extensive. I lay out each individual sound. I just lay it out entirely, so I have everything playing at the same time, and then gradually as it progresses, I take out each individual element, like the counter melodies, or like the flute, for example. In this case, I take it out here, and then I have the strings alternate. Like I have the faster pattern playing here, and then I have the slow pattern playing here, and then it's the same thing over here again, but then the flute, it's not playing here. And then I take out the kalimba, and each individual sound I take out gradually as it progresses. And so it gives a producer that whoever it ends up, and whoever's hands it ends up, it gives him, you know, more leverage to, you know, pick whichever part he prefers, which, you know, likes. If he plays it out, he can tell, okay, this is like, it's progressing. And for example, if he doesn't like the strings and main melody, he can still just only have the flute and just counter melodies, or he can just have the main melody but no flutes at all. So it's giving him the ultimate leverage. You know, it's gonna lead to longer samples and bigger files, but at the end of the day, I guess greater chances for placements, because you're giving the producer more options, you know. So that's what I do. And then what I do, I record it in Edison, and then I render it out. As you can see, I render out the audio file, and then the final step, what I'll do is I'll add a texture, and it's mostly 9 times out of 10, if you hear my samples, it's gonna be this texture right here. It sounds like this. And it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you know this, but by Drake, Hype, from Views, the album Views, this Cubeatz sample that's playing on the track, like the sliced bell, like omnisphere melody, and there's like this vinyl texture like in the background, but it's not like your typical static vinyl texture. Like your typical static vinyl texture would sound like this, but the one that I always pick, like my favorite one, which is also my one-shot kit, it sounds more plucky. It doesn't sound as static and smoky, and I like it. It kind of gives it a bit more exotic vibe and feel and ambience, which is also important. And again, a subtle difference. And then that's what I'll do, and then I'll, you know, pitch down the sample. In this case, I just left it. I'll pitch it up or down. In this case, I just left it in the original pitch. And then the last thing what I'll do is, I'll throw on some effects on the master chain. In this case, I throw on an EQ to boost some of the frequencies, and, you know, take out some of the frequencies I, you know, wanted to hear, and some of the ones that I didn't like as much, I lowered them, I ducked them down. But in this case, I just boosted the high and some of the bass, because I didn't really add a bass instrument. Then I added a saturation knob, like saturation knob. It's actually a free effect plugin by Softube. So saturation, what it does, it adds a bit more warmth, especially for samples. Really important. It just adds more warmth and, like, you know, fullness to your samples. The same thing can be done with Soundgoodizer, in fact, but I like saturation just knob a bit better. Just has a, you know, bit better sound, I think. And then last but not least, I also love using this on another gem for you guys. It's Frudio Stereo Shaper. So there's a lot of, for stereo imaging, a lot of different plugins you use. I always use, most of the time, Stereo Shaper, just the basic Frudio Stereo Shaper. And I'm messing around with these presets. And what I love doing is, why I love using it is the image. Like, it just adds a bit, well, not a bit, just adds a bit, you know, way more width and, like, space to your samples, like the feel, like the panning. It just adds a dope panning effect. So that's pretty much all I did on the master chain. And then when I do all those effects on and the sample playing on the texture, I then export it out in a WAV file, and that's pretty much it with the process. That's pretty much the process with all my samples. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you like the video, if you know you learned something along the way, definitely, you know, leave a like. If you want to, you know, see something in particular content you want me to cover in my next video, my next tutorial / sample breakdown, any sample you want me to break down in particular, you know, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this. You know, if there are any tips, any stuff I can do better. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for me, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.